So the Buffalo Bills have some very important decisions coming up to make with James Cook and a few offensive linemen in terms of contract extensions. The offseason for the Bills over the last few months was of course about getting better, adding talent and depth. They got Joey Bosa, Michael Hoyt, guys like Josh Palmer. The Bills had an exciting draft class that I still have not broken down on this channel, so I want to do that. I want to talk schedule. Really, I just want to talk about everything going on with the Buffalo Bills right now because there is a lot, and this is a pivotal upcoming season where the Bills have to make a stride. Let's face it, they have to beat the Chiefs this year, or else it's going to become clear that some sort of change has to be made. But the good news is that they are right there. They easily could have won last year and moved on if it were not for some controversial spots and calls by the refs. So the Bills aren't far away, but they definitely made some moves to shore up some of the spots on the roster they were weak in. Let's talk about it all. But first, before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 60k subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so really the story of this offseason, outside of the additions, is the contract extensions that were given out. Josh Allen obviously got a massive record-breaking extension worth $330 million. Man, the money that athletes are making these days is just getting crazier and crazier. Greg Rousseau, Ternell Bernard, Chris Benford, Shakir, a lot of extensions were given out, and I think these extensions were huge just in terms of the message that was sent. Basically, the players were told that the front office believes in this team, they believe in what they have, and that they can get over the hump. And it just takes all the tension out of the locker room for now, which again, can both be a really good or bad thing. But I don't think the Bills have any players that are going to be content now that they have their money. Everyone is striving and working every day toward the ultimate goal, and I'm sure everyone is still hurt from how last season ended. Nobody is going to forget it. I mean, how could you? Honestly, I think the Bills extended more guys than most of us expected with the fact that they were able to get so much done in free agency. The front office definitely attacked this offseason head on and were aggressive, but as I mentioned in the intro, even with all these guys getting signed and extended, there still is a next wave of guys highlighted by James Cook that are going to be eligible and due to get an extension. And as we all know, the cap is kind of a myth. The cap is there, so you have to make at least a few hard decisions, and the Bills eventually are going to get to that point where long-term decisions have to be made, and that is why I said this season is going to be ultra important for what decisions the Bills make this upcoming off season. So as for James Cook, with the offensive line becoming a booming position and where the market is red hot right now, the running back position, as you all know, has been becoming cheaper and cheaper, and unfortunately for running backs, the position has just been treated like trash by front offices. It really sucks, but in terms of business, it makes sense. The running back position outside of guys like Saquon and those top tier guys are very replaceable in the draft every year, and for most running backs, a lot of the success majorly depends on how good the offensive line in front of them is. But yeah, James Cook is affordable. You could probably get him for about $10 to $12 million a year, so throw him a 4-year $50 million deal now, and I'm sure it would be accepted, and then the Bills would have their running back position answered for the long-term future. I know Cook right now is probably going to want around $15 million per year, so let's take a look at his numbers and compare them to other running backs to see what the other guys around the league with similar stats are being paid right now. Cook was of course the final member of the 1,000-yard rushing club in 2024, and guys with similar numbers were Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, and Bucky Irving. But Cook was very effective in the receiving game, so we can't forget about that as well when comparing him to some of these guys. Joe Mixon is on a 3-year deal worth about $25 million, so just over $8 million a year. Najee Harris is on a 1-year $5.3 million contract. He, to me, despite his stats, is probably the worst running back of all the guys I just mentioned, so those numbers make sense. Tony Pollard is on a 3-year deal worth about $21 million, a little more, so just over $7 million a year. And then Bucky has yet to get his second contract, but you gotta believe he's at that $6 to $8 million per year range. So yeah, for Cook, anywhere between $7 to $10 million a year would be reasonable. He's a fantastic player. But as I always say, and as everyone knows, a running back can only be as good as the O-line in front of him. So let's talk about where the Bills' O-line is at, because the market for good linemen is booming. It's through the roof. It really is. Connor McGovern is the first lineman that I want to talk about. He's still under contract this year, but he is due for a pay bump. So a decision is going to have to be made here over the next few months. Right now, the center market is absolutely on fire. Drew Dahlman, who went to the Bears from Atlanta, signed a $14 million deal, and I think McGovern is around the same type of caliber player. Connor McGovern himself stated that he would love to stay in Buffalo, but he did acknowledge that sometimes business can get in the way, and when it's your turn to get paid, you earn that opportunity. So really, this entire situation is in the hands of the Bills front office, and if they decide the money is worth it or not. But nonetheless, for McGovern, he is about to be paid. So let me know in the comments below if you think 14 or 15 million is a fair amount of money to keep him in Buffalo, or if you would let him explore his options, because the center position is super important whether you want to admit it or not. It is the core foundation of a team. It all starts there. Alright, now moving on to O'Cyrus Torrence. He's not eligible this year, but after this season he will be contract extension eligible. And I don't want to jump the gun, but if you're the Bills here, you want to keep a player like him in the back of your minds and plan for the extension, because he's a young player. I really think the Bills should keep him around long term. Obviously, that third year is when players become eligible for the big bucks. We saw it come up this offseason with Shakir and a few other guys. And although again this extension is not one that would break the bank, money does add up, and there's only so many players you can have locked up long term, especially with the money that Josh Allen is going to be getting. But yeah, that's just my opinion on that. Now let's move on and talk about the schedule and see what is on the Bills slate for 2025, because if you did not hear me say, this is a more than critical season for the Bills as a franchise, and they got to put themselves in a spot and a position to have success in the postseason, both record wise and health wise. Game 1 kicking off the season is going to be electric at home against the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, obviously, like the Bills, has struggled to get over the hump in the postseason, but these still are two of the best teams in the league that will be going at it right from the jump. But then after that game, things get a lot easier. The next 4 are against the Jets, Dolphins, Saints, and Patriots, and then even further, they face the Falcons and Panthers. So realistically, the Bills should start out the season at least 5-2, but they have a real chance to go 6-1. But then in week 9, the biggest game of the regular season will happen. Chiefs, Bills at home. Obviously the Bills did get one last year, but this will be a good test. Obviously everyone at this point only cares about the playoffs and what happens there, but still it's a good test to see where you measure up mid-season. And after that, the grind begins, with games against teams like the Buccaneers, Texans, Steelers, Bengals, and the Eagles. By the time the playoffs come around, the Bills should be battle-tested and ready to roll if everything goes according to plan and the team stays healthy. But yeah, nonetheless, it's going to be an interesting season for the Bills. Let me know how you guys are feeling about this team in the comments below. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. And also let me know what you would like to see next, and until then, I will see you all later.
What is the NFL telling us by matching up these two teams to start the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all expected prime time for this game, but this is a heavyweight matchup right out of the chute, and I think it'll be a major litmus test early for Buffalo's revamped defense. We all remember how the Week 4 game on Sunday Night Football went against the Ravens in Baltimore. Not a good showing. Now we'll see if Buffalo's defensive line really is a more formidable front than it has been in recent years. Derrick Henry is a huge test in Week 1 for that new defensive line.